Okay, let's talk arms. We'll use Matt Wolf here and Colin Morikawa. Matt Wolf's always fun, right? Because he has what appears to be an insane golf swing. So briefly can talk about address here, right? Depending on what club you're hitting, arms are going to kind of hang somewhere between a vertical, like Colin, and slightly out, like Matt. And as we come back, we don't want those arms working too far behind us or too far in front of us, right? See kind of an acceptable range here. Get to the top. Fairly common to see lead arm covering the shoulder line, right? Gonna even see that with Matt Wolf. If we look at the trail arm, right, you'll see some variation on tour, right? This is gonna be a trail arm that kind of lines up with the spine angle, right? But you do see trail arms that have more internal, or external shoulder rotation, so the trail arm's a little more vertical, right? But you definitely don't want to see it much any steeper, or any more horizontal than the spine angle, and you definitely don't want to see it too vertical, right? Somewhere in this range to this range is where a lot of amateurs are going to be happy. The transition tells us a lot about how the arms are supposed to work, so you're going to see those arms start to tip vertically, that trail arm start to tip in a little vertically as that elbow starts to find its way back in front of the body, right? If we get down to lead arm parallel, you can see Matt Wolf's elbow here, Colin's a little more in front of him. Hands kind of in the same position, more or less, or in the middle of the chest. Go to kind of another checkpoint from here. Hands kind of in the thighs. Arm parallel to the target line. Right, we can take a look at that trail arm again. You can see now it's kind of on the front of the hip. So they're both pretty acceptable / fantastic positions. Take them to impact. Note that that trail arm is still bent, right? Quite important. If you're going to have this much spine tilt anyway. So let's look at the face-on looks of these swings. Talk about some of the key things we can look for with amateur swings. The first things I look for with the arms, like what do I see at lead arm parallel? Right, we really want to see this trail arm on top of the lead arm, right? Matt Wolf's an extreme example, but Colin's going to be more typical. And if we fast forward to lead arm parallel again, what we're going to see in most players, right, Colin's a good example of this, is now we're going to see that trail arm underneath. I mean, one thing you can see with Matt Wolf is, of course, if you compare this to this, is that his trail arm has moved quite a ways underneath, or he's added external shoulder rotation, right, to get that arm in a more traditional throwing position. If we get down to impact, kind of see the same thing there, a little bit bent. And, probably important to note at this point that the lead arm definitely does not have to be perfectly straight, kind of a common myth in golf. Go into the follow through, we'll see varying degrees of rotation here with the arms. But we're definitely going to see it at some point, right? The thing we don't want to see is that rotation in this spot here, right? You take almost every Tour Pro, say post-impact like this, and that you're going to see something that looks pretty similar, right? Where the forearms are not whipped over. But chances are, if your forearms are whipped over here, it's because something went wrong well before. So, okay, so that's a brief primer on the arms.